I'm Jackie. This is Garrett. We almost got divorced. Going through all that made us like how we are now, which is just so much better than you could ever imagine.
When you dig through the deepest, darkest part of the night, man, it ain't nothing but sunshine after that.
This is the most important job you'll ever have, and people don't put as much work into it as they should. We're going on 25 years. We have 5 adult children and 1 brand new granddaughter. She's so cute.
We just want to thank everybody for watching the first episode. We thought it went really good. I don't know. You thought it went good, babe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here we are back for the second episode for the month, and we're going to be talking about kids.
Kids.
It's a very interesting topic that most people with kids and without kids have to deal with. So we're going to get into it. The characters in the story are fictional. No, we're coming with the real. So if you know these folks, don't try to chastise them in public. But we just want to give you our truth and what our experience was in raising 5 kids. So here we go.
I think being an only child influences how I deal with a lot of things. So as an only child, I was pretty self-sufficient. So I think I had high expectations for my children and things that they could handle at a young age when maybe they weren't as equipped.
My background was a little different. My mom had 4 kids in 3 years. I'm a twin, and man, if you hadn't have told me anything, I thought, we grew up poor. I know most people say the opposite, but my mom used to scale back, and I don't think I had a full Happy Meal until I was 13 or something like that. But no, my upbringing was very strict, very strict. Like my mom had strict rules. They got kind of lax in high school, so it had a lot to do with my parenting. I always thought it was more strict than we should have been. Like I always tell the story about, we had an 8:00 bedtime. So, every time the theme music of Cheers came on, we was going to bed. I never saw a whole episode of Cheers because my dad would say, head them up, move them out, and we'd go to bed. But I remember in the summertime, we still had to stick to that bedtime, and we'd be going to sleep, and the sun would still be up. It just goes to show, you only know what you know. So what I was raised with, I thought everybody else was raised that way. So, when our kids came along, like I just tried to make the best of what my parents did. And for the most part, we turned out okay.
For the most part.
But yeah, every parent is just trying to do their best, but I appreciate my childhood.
We're very different. So I think we approach things very different. Things that might not bother him that the kids may do get under my skin. And as much as I try not to react to it, I can't help myself because it might not be a big deal to him, but it's a big deal to me. I know I worked midnights for 10 years when they were younger, and I swear every single Sunday night, I'm getting ready to go to work. I have to be at work at 10, and everybody's bringing me after I get up. Now, he's been here all day, all weekend. I work 7 on, 7 off. They're bringing me every single piece of paper that they got at school throughout the week needing signatures. Every single one of them. And I don't understand. It was like they thought he was incapable of signing a sheet of paper. Like, I just didn't understand it. So that really bothered me. Like, I wanted them to be responsible enough to get the stuff taken care of that needed to be taken care of ahead of going into the weekend. It didn't bother him.
Was it my fault, though?
I'm not sure. We'd have to ask the kids if it was your fault. Were you refusing to sign these things? Were you not offering help? Were you not inviting for them? I don't know why they were looking for me, because they knew what they were going to be met with every time, because they did it all the time.
Obviously, they weren't too feeling too bad about what they were met
They
with.
clearly liked the abuse. And I had plenty of it to offer. Like, that bothered me. Probably didn't bother him.
No.
See?
We had very different parenting styles just because of the way we grew up. Like, it was obvious that, most couples probably have different parenting styles, but how we dealt with it, we're still dealing with it. I would say the kids still the kids still come to you now for everything. Like, you talk to them way more than I do, and I think that's just because.
And I don't even like to talk.
Yeah, I think it was just because you being here a lot with them during the day and me not so much. But they have this bond with you that I can't explain. I wish they would do more and talk more with me. But
As do I.
yeah. So, like, as far as our parenting styles, like, I had to pull back a lot. She was a yeller. Like, she would get on them, but that would be the end of it. I mean, I wish she would go further and discipline them in some other way, but she would like do this thing where she would click them, and I'm like, okay, what's that gonna do? And she would yell at them and say, "Shut your mouth." And I'd be like, man, shut up worked a lot better for me when I was a kid.
I felt like shut up was child abuse. Now I use it freely.
Yeah, you used to stand by that too. But I learned that I think it was better for our kids to meet somewhere in between. So, not so lax as an only child, but not so strict as my family was. But I can recall, I grew up in the whoopings, not spankings, whooping. And we used to get that, and it worked for some, well, not so much for others because we kept getting them. But I remember one time, like, one of my daughters was acting up, and
I am angry about this to this day.
You are?
You stopped me from being great. I was trying to send a message.
No, that's not that story, but you can tell that one.
No, that's okay. Tell the one that you're gonna tell.
Okay, all right.
The one that traumatized you.
Yeah, I don't think I don't even think I ever spanked a kid again.
He didn't.
This.
He never even tried.
One of our kids was acting up pretty bad in the car, and actually peed in the seat and thought it was like hilarious. So I took it upon myself to discipline this child very well, and went straight to the laundry room, bathroom, and I went in there, and it was like something out of a slave movie. Like, don't laugh, but I'm still traumatized. So I called myself, whooping the child pretty good, and this particular child never shed a tear, never like cried, and just looked straight at the wall the whole time. And it messed me up so bad that I found like I have to find a different way to discipline, because it hurt me way more than it hurt her or that person. Because they were able to take it and understand I wasn't playing and not cry. To this day, I've never seen anything like that. And it was more of not even the not crying, it was the face that was made. Like, the person knew I was disappointed in them. And that, well, they joke because I heard later on that this person was saying it didn't hurt, but it did to me.
Are you crying now?
Yeah, I am. Okay.
Okay, what?
You tell yours now.
I want to name a name so bad, but I won't, because this person knows exactly who they are. We were out in a very public place, and they were acting very crazy, and got out and started to run around the car. So back when my head, shoulders, knees, and toes were very agile, I began chasing this person around the car. And Garrett and the other 4 kids just stood there watching and begging me to stop, because we were in public and they didn't want a bigger scene to be created.
But that's where I think we balance each other, right?
I'm still upset about that.
Yeah, but we had many times to right the wrongs after that.
Okay. Like I said, we have different parenting styles because of who we are as people. We probably don't agree with how to handle things a lot of the time. Again, as I previously said, I'm a person that shuts down. So I'm not going to push back too much. I'm just going to be mad by myself someplace else about it and kind of to myself think sometimes if we had gone the direction I wanted to go, like if I had pushed harder to go the direction I wanted to go, that this terrible thing maybe would not have happened. So I don't know that we really confront the disagreements. We had a situation and it wasn't that long ago where one of the kids had gotten into some serious trouble. And my response to that, I steered them in the direction where they were going to get the assistance that they needed. And then I was hands off because I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted nothing to do with them. And for me, because I know who I am as a person, I was going to say and do some things that I wasn't going to be able to take back, and I wasn't going to try to take back. And even if I did try to take back, you can't unring a bell. So I felt it best to shut down communication for me. Maybe not the best way to handle it, but I knew it was not going to be productive, anything that I did. And it was a while before I even like spoke with this person living with me. And I know he had issue with it, like he wasn't shy about saying it, but in that moment I really feel like I think had your answer been different, like I think during that time I think deep down I was blaming you for what happened because you were the one who gave the yes. You know what I mean? So it was hard for me to take advice or input from him on how to deal with it when I felt like we wouldn't have been in that situation had he responded differently. But I feel like all of that needed to happen to kind of expose a problem that was going to get bigger. And I think that everything that did happen helped to put things back on the right track.
There's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution. That child is a human being that gets to make choices right or wrong, no matter how you discipline them. Yeah, you do place blame. I do that. She just admitted to doing it. But in the end, you're making a group decision. Whether you concede or not, or it's your idea, you're making a group decision that we're going to give this child some leeway or take some back. But even when in the instances where we got it right, where the discipline seemed to work, I just think it was more of that child than the discipline. More of them being disappointed that we were disappointed. And so I would say don't get so worked up over like whose idea it was or which way you go with. Just love that child through it. You're gonna make some mistakes, but like I just told Jack, you get many chances to correct the differential and disciplines. But it's a learning experience the whole time. The whole time you're going, hey, like this is what we're gonna do, and however the child responds is the way the child responds. But in the case that she's talking about, I blame myself a little bit. But I always was, I'm the soft parent and I'm the one that I want them to prove to me that they can do it. And then I also believe that also entails them making right and wrong choices. And so that leeway I give them is for me to see where they are mature wise and if they can handle whatever it is that I'm giving. But Jackie is more of like, I've seen their past history and I really don't think this is a good idea. and we just kind of meet somewhere in between. And sometimes I got it wrong. Sometimes I got it right. A lot of times, no. But, you know, we have 5 kids and they all are very different. So what works for one does not work for the other 4. And so we're in this constant, you know, you're unfair. You let this person, you let that person. And yeah, you are, because you are different people. We can't rule with an iron fist that's the same for each child. So I would say we're still going through that, right? They have way more choice in the matters now, but I don't regret how we raised our kids. I feel like when I look at others, and I'm not judging, I'm like, we did all right for what we had and what we knew, and to how many kids we had. Like, I feel like God had his hand in it, because me and you weren't that great, and the kids are pretty special to me.
If we had another one, though, I bet that one would be like the best, because we've practiced so much.
I thought that with 3, 4, and 5.
Those were just test subjects.
I'm good on the number 6.
So not everybody has children of their own, but most everybody has children in their life, whether it's a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a sister, brother, whatever. And sometimes when you're charged with caring for that child that is not yours, whether you're a parent or not, it can get a little tricky, because some kids are going to be on their best behavior when they're not with their parent or guardian. And other kids are going to push the limits, and they know who they can push them with. And I believe if someone trusts you enough to leave their child or children with you, they should trust that you're going to make the right decision when it comes to caring for them. And that includes laying down the law or the fist if necessary. I mean, it don't have to be a closed fist.
That's a smack.
But I feel like if I let someone care for my children, I'm not gonna blindly just turn them over to somebody who I think is gonna be abusive for sport. Like, I feel like I could trust that person to make smart choices, the same choices I expect my children to make when they're not with me.
That's a tough one, because you really can't discipline someone else's child like you would your own, because you know your own kids. But you can set some ground rules. And our children were better when they were outside of the house. And I know that's not all kids, but when you have kids that try to test you because you're not their parent, they learn, I think, quicker that you're not playing around, more so than your own kids. So it's really setting the standard. And like Jackie said, no one's going to entrust you with their child if they don't trust you, especially in this world today. I remember one example. We had this lady from my mom's church babysit our kids, and 2 of our kids basically held her hostage to the point where she was scared to move out of a chair. And she told us when, you know, we got home to get the kids, and we were kind of upset that she was scared of them. Like, well, who are you that you wouldn't lay down the law?
I'm pretty sure they were around the ages of 3 and 4, maybe even 2 and 3.
Yeah, but they spooked her enough to where you don't know what these kids are capable of, especially when there's a bunch of them.
I told you that one was trouble from the very beginning.
Yeah, there's always one in the bunch. But we felt like she didn't rise to the level of discipline that we wanted her with our kids. Another occasion, 2 of the kids were fighting, and my mom had they were fighting outside and they wouldn't stop, and my mom couldn't get them apart. So she had to go get an actual water hose and spray them to get them apart. But the discipline met the rebellion. So, you know, you just gotta do what you know to do in that situation, but don't overdo it.
I think I don't know. Well, I didn't really have the one. I think the hardest conversation we had to have with them, and I feel like I cheated because I didn't really have to have it. I just had to be like a onlooker, was when we were split and we had court ordered family counseling, and we took them to the therapist that we were ordered to see, and that was where they were kind of delivered the news. And I just remember thinking, this will make him change his mind. Like, I was thinking that because like he'll see how the kids react. But I remember one very dramatic outburst of, why'd you have to bring us all the way here to tell us this? They
One,
kind of seemed upset, but the next
one just
day,
laughed the whole time.
so that was probably the hardest conversation, but I guess technically I didn't really have it. So maybe not as hard as it could have been.
Yeah, that was tough times. I didn't even think of that.
What did you think?
I was thinking, man, so I'm not going to say names, but I remember for one child, it was explaining death. Because
Oh,
we were, I mean, Jackie was killing goldfish left and
I
right.
was so devastated.
They were dying so much that, like, the kids thought it was a game to flush the goldfish
They
down
wanted
the
to take
toilet.
turns.
And then it was hamsters, and they were dying. And then it was puppies.
Oh no.
And so I remember the one child saying that they were used to death, and that didn't sit right with me at all. So we had to have that discussion. For another kid, it was that, like, the incident you talked about that was serious, and I reacted in a way that I've never reacted with a kid because I was so hurt by that. And I remember, I don't even know if it registered, but I was very active in showing that even in that outburst I had with that kid, that I wanted to show that kid that I loved him, and that outburst was like a reaction of my love, and that
Immediately after, he said, I feel terrible.
and I didn't do anything abusive. It was
No,
just a
no,
lot
no.
of
It was
yelling.
something he said. And
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, I wouldn't have felt bad because like I was so mad and so hurt by it. I wouldn't have felt bad. If that had been me and I had said those words, I would not have felt the slightest bit of guilt, and I probably never would have apologized for it, which is why I thought it best not to say anything until I knew I could say something useful.
It was the equivalent of the one getting the whooping and not crying. It was that. It felt
He
like that.
literally can't do anything
I
right.
know. But I try to be a good dad, and hopefully they know that. With another kid, it was like the conversation about college and where you're going and where you can afford to go. And that kid had done very well in school, and so it was like it was a tough conversation, and it worked out. For another one, it was a girl. Well, you dealt with that more than I did, but it was hard for me to see a kid just being that heartbroken over
A failed relationship.
a failed relationship. Man, those are tough because what do you say? There's more fish in the sea? Like, that just doesn't.
True though it may be, when you see your kid hurting, like everything in me wanted to set the world on fire because you can't fix it. And then I'm in tears because I'm so upset because they're so upset. Like, you hate to see your kid upset. That's like the worst feeling ever, especially when you know you have no control over how to remedy the situation.
Yeah, it was tough. And then, like, the other incident I thought about was trying to understand one kid's finances and what made sense for that kid to do at that time, right? Without that kid sharing a lot, and we're trying to help as parents, and it's like, you know, you need to do this and you need to do it rapidly. And those are tough conversations that, you know, the kid might be embarrassed by some of those things, but man, this is your life, and you can't worry about what other people think about you. But, you know, and those are just a few. Like, we're constantly having these, And if you're a parent, you know, these conversations that the kid won't understand or grasp because they're so young, but you still have to meet them where they are and explaining why you're doing what you're doing. And they might not get it, but one day they will.
I'm still waiting.
Waiting. Just waiting.
We always make time for us. Like, you don't want your kids to be the only thing you have in common, even though I have disclosed that that is the only thing we have in common. But you always need time, I feel like, just away from everything the everyday. So even if it's just going to the dollar store or Starbucks, or just, we've gotten in the car before and just drove, going nowhere. Like, we've just driven around just to like be alone and be able to have a conversation with each other. I'm not a huge talker, but
I am.
yes, he is. When we're alone, like, I can have a conversation. I can focus on him and not anything else that's going on.
Yeah. From the time we got together and we started having these kids, bam, 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 it was like we wanted to do things with the kids and then by ourselves. So my mom was great, like, as far as watching our kids, all 5 kids at once. And we would go on 1 week vacations and my mom would keep all 5 kids. And so we got into a routine that every other year we'd take them somewhere and then we'd go somewhere with ourselves. And so we'd save our little money and my mom would keep them, and it was wonderful. But then we kind of learned, like, you know, going through some things in life, we had to do that all the time. And so we're way better now than we used to be. I think the kids being small or growing up has helped with that. But even when they were younger, we would make time and go to the place we went on our first date, or like Jackie said, we'd get in the car or we'd have these conversations. But I'll say it again and I'll repeat it. I said it in the first video. I'll continue to say it, is you have to be intentional. You just can't say to yourself, oh, we'll make time for each other. No, you got to plan time. You got to put it in a schedule. You got to say, this is when we do this. This is when we're going to do that. Once you put a date and a time into something, it becomes real.
Once I put it on my calendar.
Yep. And so that's how you have to be with making time outside of your kids, because the kids will consume you. Naturally, they will consume all of your time. And if you let it go too long, you'll look up and you two will be this far apart. Like, you before you know it. And I think that's what happened to us. Raising 5 kids, we got to that 10-year point and we look back and the person was not back to back anymore. They were a block away. And so that's why you got to really go after it when they're young, because that's where it's going to wear on you the most. And then you'll be feeling like, and I'm sure Jackie felt like this because I did, like you're in it alone. Even though you feel like you're holding up your end of the bargain more than the other person, you just feel like you're alone as a dual parent household. So make time. I'll continue to say that. Make time, be intentional, schedule it. That's it.
I don't feel like there's ever a failure. It might seem like that, like maybe you missed the mark, but everything is a lesson. It's hard to help your child navigate that because they're gonna see it as a miss, not like an opportunity to learn from it. I try to tell my kids, like, if anybody wants to see you win, it's me and Dad. Like, I'm gonna be 10 toes down till I die. But I don't feel like they really believe it because I don't feel like they take the advice we give them. At the end of the day, they're all adults at this point and they're going to do what they're going to do. I've got one that calls me religiously, asks me for advice that I know they are not going to take. They're never going to take it. And I've gotten to the point where instead of like getting overexcited out the gate, I have to like temper how I'm going to handle it. I say my piece. I make the suggestion that they reach out to him, and then I come back to the revelation that I know they're not going to listen to me. They're going to listen to everybody but me, because for some reason they don't think that I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I've not given bad advice to them. I'm not sure why they're so defiant.
Kids are gonna be kids, and I really do think me and you give good advice. Like, we usually talk through it among ourselves first, and then we give it to the kids. And it's solid. You know, it's so solid. We're confident that they never gonna make another mistake after we give it to them.
But most things that we were young parents. So most things that they are going through or will go through, we've already been through. So, and I get it that everybody's not the same. All the circumstances aren't the same. Situations isn't the same. But we've been there. And I think that we make it look easy or something, that they don't think that we know what we're talking about.
Like, we're giving solid advice that we wish we would have had, and they're just not taking it. And I remember, and I told Jackie this, I used to think my mom was crazy when I was little. I still do.
I was going to say.
If anyone knows my mother, she's a firecracker. But I tell Jackie this all the time. I said, I wouldn't listen to her just cause. And she was right about most things. And I feel like God gives each parent the wisdom for their children. So even though we might not get a lot of things right, like Jackie said, we love you more than you'll ever know. And so we're going to give you the best advice that we think you should have. And it's solid, good advice that 99.99%, it's going to be the best advice. But it was still up to me, even with my mom, to take that advice or not. And man, boy, do I wish I had to listen on more occasions than I didn't.
We have a handful of traditions. I feel like he really does. One that like we can't seem to escape. Like, I kind of don't understand it because, like I said, they're all adults. On Christmas Eve, I guess the Secret Santa gift exchange between the 7 of us is newer-ish, but we build gingerbread houses on Christmas Eve. And I feel like we've been doing that forever, for close to 20 years, and still at this big old age, we still do it. That's mine. I know what yours is.
You do?
No, maybe not.
What do you think it is?
Answer, and then I'll tell you if that was the one I thought. You could trust me.
No, I have like a bunch of
shocking. Go on.
You know, we do you said the Christmas Eve, but then the Christmas Day one, where you have to tell what.
That's the one that I thought he was gonna say.
I don't know why y'all hate that one so much. Like, y'all even have guests who do it fearing it. But on Christmas morning, before we do anything, each person has to say what Christmas means to them. And my whole thing is that every year Christmas means something different. Like, the basis of what Christmas is, you know, the birth of Christ and giving and all that the things that surround that. That's always going to be the reason for the season, but it's more meaningful, and it's just like pulling teeth for them on, you know, early Christmas morning, even at this age, to come up with what Christmas really means. But they do a good job. But some other traditions, man, family fun nights. I know you hated them back in the day.
It was just so high stress. It was to walk into an eatery with 5 kids, and you're both young, and all the like, I was just under tons of stress. Like, it was so anxiety ridden. I didn't want anybody to say anything. I didn't want anybody to spill anything. Like, it was so stressful for me. But every once in a while, an old couple would walk by us and say, your children are so well behaved. But you get the eye rolls and the stares when you first get there. And like I said, they they were well behaved outside of the home for the most part, especially when they were getting a free meal. But it just, people had already decided what the evening was going to be like when they saw us coming in. So that's why I didn't dislike them, but it was just a lot. Imagine like taking 7 people out, and it was every other week because I worked every other week.
Yeah, now we frown up at people that come.
Yeah, now we're like, ugh, why did you bring them here? So I know that's what they were doing to us.
But I mean, we had a few family vacations. We would go every other year, and now it's like every 3. We're planning one this year. But I just wanted us to, as a family of 7, to just have some things that we could always come back to, and hopefully we can pass that down to our grandkids and their kids, and leave a legacy of tradition.
I feel like our kids were semi-sheltered because of where they grew up. When we first moved to Shorewood, I'm pretty sure we were the only Black family in the neighborhood. No, we actually know another one that lives around the corner.
Well, no, we can count them.
There was at least 2 of us that we know about. And I just told somebody this story the other day. A friend of mine was dropping something off at my house, and she pulled up to the neighbors across the street because they were sitting out in their driveway. And she asked, like, do you know where the Beans lived? Which house is theirs? And they were like, who? And she was like, the Black people. And all 4 of them pointed at our house, which I laugh about now. But my kids, like, they only know what they know. There's some things that, like, racism is out there, like, whether people choose to believe it or not. And it's hard to kind of explain that to your kids because they didn't have that experience, or maybe they didn't understand that maybe they were being treated poorly because of their race or whatever, their sex, whatever. It probably went over their heads just because I think naturally they were just inclined to find the good in people. Like they surrounded themselves with good people when they were younger. So it's kind of hard to approach that. I've got a couple of very passionate children. If we can't kind of make them feel better about the situation, maybe we can share a story of something that we went through that was similar.
Race, religion, and money. Those are we had a particular child who we got a BB gun.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And this dude want to walk down the street
with his gun. With a mask on.
Did
that we got. Mask? We got him when we went on vacation. It was a full covered, like his whole face was covered.
I blame us for that. Yeah. But yeah, we had to teach him why he couldn't do that. And then he also wrote a report in school that differed from the teacher's opinion of what he wrote. And I remember he came home so frustrated because they were asked to write a paper about something. And,
their opinion.
Yeah. And he was basically told his opinion on that subject was wrong. And I was infuriated.
Another one of them times I wanted to set the world on fire.
And, you just teach them that there's bad people in every race, and it's more the experience with the person and not a race. And Jackie's half white, so how could we be out here being racist to white people? But we just always taught our kids to love, which flows into the religion aspects of it. Like, we always drug them to church. Like, I don't know if that was the right thing to do. I believe it was the right thing to do. I don't think they rebelled, but that's what my mom did to us. And I even to this day, I pray they have a relationship that with God, because we're not going to be able to save them all the time. Like, we're not going to be able to bail them out all the time. And sometimes they're going to have to get on their knees and pray and ask God to give them wisdom and that they would make the right choices. And then money, like, bro, we bought them all budget books for Christmas. Some are terrible and some are okay. I wouldn't say any of them are great with money. And like Jackie said, they didn't see how much we had to scrape and make ends meet with a family of 5 and groceries and activities and bills and living where we live. And it's just like, have some respect for a dollar. And so none of them have read this book. I think they said they read a chapter or a chapter and a half.
Which was
But
probably a lie.
yeah, like so, and again, that's no fault of theirs. I think that's a little bit of us sheltering them. But man, I really wish they could get to understand saving and setting a budget and putting a little bit away for vacationing and retirement and making their money work for them, not them for the money. And they had a good head start. Like I'd say they had a better head start than we had, and we had a better head start than our parents had. And they just seem to be like just letting it just the ball drop. We're still working on the budget piece. Again, we just bought the books and we'll see where that goes. But we might have to get to a point where we cut them off.
I'm refusing to be bullied by a child of any age. Don't test me. Like, I don't know how I would handle it if I was pushed. I know I would push back. Like, I'm not going to let a child run me. Again, no matter how old they are, especially when they're still dependent upon me in some way, whether they live with me or not. I'm going to challenge them. Like, if a kid wants to come in at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, as someone did last night, and they think I didn't know, I don't care how old you are. You live in my house. Have some respect for my house. I'm not going to tell you can't stay out all night as long as you're somewhere safe, but you should respect me enough so that I'm not worried if I go out to the garage and go to work and your car isn't there. So if you want to start doing grown-up things, I'm going to give you some grown-up things to do. You're going to pay your phone bill. You're going to pay your car insurance. You're going to do all the things that I'm doing behind the scenes for you that you don't realize are being done.
We only got like 2 kids that really push the boundaries.
And one of them don't even live here.
Yeah. And they test us enough that we could handle the other 3 all right. But yeah, again, you're just giving your wisdom as to why you should not push that boundary. And they always learn when they do push those boundaries. They always, we've had kids come back and actually say, I should have listened to y'all. And again, that's life. Life is a bunch of choices you make and dealing with the consequences of those choices. Yeah, we learn a lot about ourselves when disciplining the kids. But again, we give solid advice, and it's up to them whether they want to make the wise decision.
I have all kinds of friends and people I come into contact with. I have friends that struggle to have kids. I have friends that do not want kids. I have friends who have kids. I have some who had them young, some who had them later in life. I feel like there's this unspoken expectation in society that if you are a woman of childbearing years, that the expectation is that you bring forth life. And that is not for everyone. And when you find a married couple who does not have kids, and the question that is asked, I've seen people do it. I'm guilty of having done it in the past until someone made this comment to me. When are you guys going to start? When are you guys going to have kids? Like, you don't know what their struggle is. You don't know what their desire is. You don't know if that's like a fresh wound that you're opening up, bringing up the fact that they know they don't have kids. I just feel like no one should feel pressured to fall into like what someone's view of what a normal marriage is. I feel like I would just say, that's a personal question, and I don't feel like I have to answer that. Or like, with respect, I'm not comfortable talking about this. Something like, you owe no one an explanation on what you do in your marriage, your relationship, your home, with your body, like that's no one's business but yours. You don't have a uterus, so you can't really.
I got an opinion though.
I'm sure you do. I want to hear it.
I would just say the two things I took from that, and I'm glad Jackie covered her side of it. Because I feel like we're in that category now that our kids are older, is don't expect people who don't have kids to watch your kids. Like that's the other thing people think is like, since you don't have kids, you're the perfect all-time babysitter. And I just think that's unfair to assume that. The other thing I would say is, don't bring your kids to adult events.
Oh, please don't.
Man.
And honestly, I don't even want to see your kids at kid events.
I just really feel like, I don't know why now people don't have a place or babysitters, or they don't trust people as much as they did in the past. So no one has any sitters anymore. So they bring them to everything. And I feel like even having 5 kids, we had more respect for other adults than to bring our kids to everything.
I'll offer to skip the event and care for your child so that others can enjoy it kidless.
It's to the point now. It's to the point now we gotta ask who kids gonna be there. Like that shouldn't even be. Jackie's always. Jackie's always upset when she gets to an adult event and there's a kid or kids there, and so it just. I don't know why. It's like she's not like this crazy partier. Like she can't show out now because the kids are there.
No, nothing like that.
I'm just messing.
I don't know why it bothers me.
Because they shouldn't be there.
The one thing I wish somebody told me, and I probably wouldn't have believed them because I'm still in shock a bit myself, is that once you are a parent, you are never not a parent. You're never, I don't want to say I worry all the time, but I'm concerned. I have a kid who, if they're not up by a certain time and I know they have to work, I'm worried. Like, are they sick? Are they calling off? Like, I went and saw a friend of mine not too long ago, and she was telling me a story about her dad. Now my friend's a little bit older than me, and her dad is I want to say he's in his 70s, and he was going through something. And her grandmother, who is in her 90s, said, he can stay with me. That's my son. And I thought, this cannot be life. At 90 plus years old, you are still taking care of your kids. Like, I never gave it much thought when having kids. I just assumed that you always hear you're going to be dealing with this for 18 years. No, you are going to deal with this for the rest of your life or as long as your kids live. Like, you're always going to be someone's parent. You're always going to be the person that is expected to be there, to provide support, to provide help. And you're always going to have concern for these people outside of your body. Like, you're just never, it's just something that, like, I don't think I was prepared for. Like I said, my mom passed away a couple years ago, and I still say, did she worry about me driving in the snow? Like, I think about my kids, like, getting on the highway in the snow. Did she think about this? Or did she worry about me when I was sick? Like, I'm in my mid 40s. Like, you never not think about them. I came home after spending some time with one of my kids, probably about a month ago. And one of my other kids busted my room and said, what y'all in here crying over so-and-so? And I turned, like, I was actually upset and crying about one of the troublemakers. Not because of anything that they did, but just because of what they're going through. Like, it hurts when you can't fix. That's what I was not prepared for, having children.
I wish someone had told me to cherish the early years.
That too.
Man, I did not enjoy that. It was something about, we had 5 kids all under the age of 7, and it was feeding them. It was changing diapers. And we had, for a long period of time, we had 3 in diapers at once. It was never leaving the house, because to make 4 diaper bags and to put them in car seats in this van took an hour and a half. And then when you got in the store, you had this triple stroller that you couldn't turn down any aisles, and everyone's staring at you and the kids are begging. It was like, so I stayed home a lot. I honestly did not enjoy those years. And, we didn't have camera phones like we do now. So we didn't capture as many pictures. We captured a lot, but I really miss my babies. Like, I really miss that age where I could pick them all up at the same time. Jackie took a picture of us in Georgia, of me doing that. And I loved them. I love the time being with them, but I just wanted them to grow up so fast so they wouldn't be such a burden. And the joke was on me.
Bigger burden.
But now, because of that, I'm more present. Like, I'm more like, I enjoy them at their age they are now, because they won't be this age for long. And so, I'm the talker, I'm the engager, and so they're more like Jackie, except for one of them, and they don't really want to talk to me. So it sucks, because back then they did, and we talked a lot. But I wish I would have cherished those moments more. And I guess our grandbaby or babies will make up for that. But I love my kids. But I wish someone would have told me, hey, it's tough when they're young, but cherish it.
I feel bad when I'm around people who don't have kids, because, again, I don't know the story as to why, unless it's been shared with me. So when I say, oh, my kids are getting on my nerves, oh, kids, I don't like kids, they make me sick, whatever I say, like, I feel bad, because I know that is a feeling that maybe they wish they could have. Not that kids could be getting on their nerves, but I know they probably wish they had kids, and probably have the thought that they would cherish everything they did and love everything they did and enjoy every single moment, and never say anything like that about how they wish, they could get a break, or how they wish their kids weren't so uncouth or whatever. So I do feel bad saying things like that around people, and even like people you just meet, like people you come into contact with at a grocery store. Like, he looks around for people to talk to. We joke about it all the time.
I don't.
You cannot take him anywhere without him finding at least 4 people to have a full-on conversation with. So even those people that we're just meeting, that maybe we don't have a relationship with, to just strike up conversation. Oh, do you have kids? Oh yeah, we got 5. Oh, they're a handful, whatever. And they may have always wanted a big family, and maybe could only have 1, or maybe could have none. I just feel like I feel bad, but then I also feel like I don't want to treat them different than I would treat, somebody who has kids, or somebody who I know doesn't want to have kids. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I know y'all gonna be shocked about this.
I'm probably going to fall off of this couch.
But I got a simple answer for this one.
Impossible.
You should never complain about your kids. And I lived a whole childhood grumbling about kids in diapers and feeding them in bottles and giving them baths. That was a blessing that a lot of people don't get to have. And I should never complain about what a child is doing. Now, that doesn't negate that it wears on you and it's tough. And like Jackie said in the last conversation, it's a lot of reasons people split, right? Kids are to be taken seriously, and it's not easy, but I don't think any parent should complain about what their kids are or what they're doing. And I was guilty of that. But that's advice for you all. Just be careful. Do it between you and your spouse, but keep it in the house, because you don't really understand the blessings that you have, and you wouldn't complain if you realize how many people out there want what you have. She's probably overwhelmed about the kids more than I am because the kids overwhelm her. They don't overwhelm me. And man, I could sit here and tell you some crazy things that my boys went to Jackie about that no boy I thought would ever go to their mom about. And
Like, I would so love to have a whole show just about the one thing I know you're talking about.
nah, I mean, like, we're being brutally honest here. We want people to know it was a sexually transmitted disease conversation.
So, yes, he went out of town for work.
Yeah, which
And he had probably just reached
I did.
altitude.
No, I just landed.
Okay. So I get a phone call, I believe. Here I am, like, still of the age to go to a pediatrician. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't do anything. Like, why would you tell me? Like, I don't know what that looks like. Dad's not here. Why would you wait until now? You just found this out. Like, I'm just rambling off all these questions. Like, I'm so irritated. And I'm like, you need to go to the hospital. And I'm like, why? Why? How? And he says he thinks his friend gave it to him. So I was so confused. I wasn't sure if he was coming out. Like, I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. Don't worry. Nothing happened. He did not have anything. I don't know about his friend, but he didn't have anything.
Well, you forgot the part that he said his friend because it was the same girl that
Yes.
they had supposedly.
But my mind never even went there. It immediately went to.
So I don't get overwhelmed with the kids, but believe me, that they go to Jackie, I think, with the intent that she would tell me, because immediately after she knows, like, my plane had just landed and she's calling me about that. And that's another thing. Every time I left town, this house would just, people was running away.
Because they thought they could test me. And like I said, I pushed back.
I don't know.
They came back. They came back.
They did, but it was every time I left, I couldn't even enjoy it wherever I was going because it was crazy here.
It really was.
And I guess I can never leave.
Maybe I'll leave. I'm a person who struggles to find what my passion is. Like, I'm not exactly sure what it is. So when my kids are trying to figure out what they want to do, like, I don't want them to just go through life just living life. Like, I want them to figure out what it is that inspires them, what it is that's going to drive them to do something, what they love, so they could start on the path of doing that. Like, I feel like because we had all of our kids by the time I was 23 and our youngest is about to be 22, I feel like they shouldn't be on my timeline, but based off of where I was at that point in life, I feel like they're kind of behind. That's not true. But I just want them to find what makes them happy. And then I want them to start working towards that, or allowing us to help them work towards that. I can't really advise. Like, I get it. Everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't have to have a college degree. Everybody doesn't have to go into a trade. They're very fortunate. None of them, well, no. Most of them don't have any kids or any big financial obligations. So they're at the point in their lives where they can try, they can travel, they can go, they can do. I just don't want it to be without like a goal in mind.
I'm with you 100%. Like, we want our kids to do what they love to do, live a modest life if they choose, and go after their dreams, make money doing what you love. I will say, though, there was a couple instances where they tried to blame us. I said it was just like the Cosby Show, where they said we had set these expectations for them that they couldn't reach or they didn't want to do. And we never did that. We've always supported them in whatever they've wanted to do. And I think they see us and think they have to live the life that we both live, which I know they probably view as successful. But even Jackie and I aren't doing what we feel like we're born to do. So we want our kids to do that. And so I want them to start their own businesses. I want them to just find their lot in life, their passion, and just do that. And whatever way we can support them doing that, and just not be tied to their phones or TV or video games and streaming, and just go after their passion. So I would encourage you all to do the same. Just to um, your kids are not you; they're unique individuals that are blessed with a gift that's unique enough to bless the world. So push them in that direction.
So I would advise people, like how you answered the one question, to enjoy all the time you have with your kids, because it does go by really, really quick. Like, you blink one day, you can't pick them up anymore because they're 16 years old. Like, they just go from being toddlers to being teenagers overnight. So just enjoy all the time you have with your children.
I think children are the greatest blessing you could have. I really do. And I was so excited about having kids because I was madly in love with Jackie. And this was us creating something that was both of us together. And so to have these kids and their reflections of both of us, um, it to me is no greater feeling. And so that child is an image of you in that you have to mold it the best you know how. And it's going to continue to bear fruit like you did. And so we're still, I feel like, molding our children, and we love them, man. Like Jackie ain't going to get excited about anything like she will about her kids. When they win, we're their biggest cheerleaders. So yeah, just understand that these kids are like life's greatest blessing.
I feel like not disciplining a child, not correcting bad behavior, not letting them know that the behavior is bad, you are doing them a disservice. You're doing them a disservice. And if I have to be around you, like, I expect you to act right. I'll fight a kid.
Yeah, that's a tough one because you see it more in society today where people just let their kids run roughshod. Like, we love cruising and we'll have a vacation episode or 2 or 3 or 4. But man, on these resorts and on these cruise lines, these parents just let these kids just get in your face. And it's that restraint you got to have to hold back. But you know, we haven't been, well, I say we, but Jackie hasn't been beyond going to the parent or whoever the guardian is. And I think that's the most you can do because of society, and, you know, you'd be locked up somewhere. But there is just this disappearing line of respect, and the parents are in the vicinity or see it going on and they just don't. And so, again, the child is a product of the parent. So the issue is more with the parent than the child. And so that's who you should address.
I don't think my kids will remember this because they don't feel like they have this, I'm guessing. But I hope they can look back and realize that we did our best
We tried.
and that we only want the best for them. We only wanted the best for them. And they could see it as adults with maybe their own children or without children, that we really were trying to help them be the best version of themselves.
You don't really know how well you did as a parent until they get older. I know we had one child that was terrible to us for about a 5-6 year period. One day, Jackie went to this person and she called me and she said, "This child is different." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Something clicked. This child is different." And so I got an opportunity to go see said child. And I noticed it too. And so we really chalked it up to, at some point, this child must have realized
We weren't the enemy.
Yeah, their parents weren't that bad. Their parents were decent. And it was, this person never said thank you or why they changed, but it's been nice since then. So like, you want them to remember, man, my dad and mom used to do that for us. My dad used to spend time with us. My mom used to cook and clean and take us to all these places after working midnights. And especially when they have kids, I think they'll learn even more. But we just want to leave a legacy of, hey, these traditions we're doing, these things we did for you all, it was so that you would do it to your children and be better people because of it. So looking back, I just really hope our kids say, man, we had a great mom and dad.
Especially mom.
Yeah, if we were to rank our children 1 through 9, we love them equally.
Not me. I have a favorite and everyone knows who it is. Aside from my granddaughter, who is now the new favorite.
Even your favorite has flaws.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Well, that's it for this episode. And we hope, that advice about kids and wherever you're at with your kids, whether they're toddlers, junior high
or
school,
non-existent.
Yeah. Or if you don't have any and you're around kids, we hope this was helpful. We want you to share your thoughts. We have a website, Limitless Livin. It's limitless-livin.com. So go there. You can find our apps. You can find our podcast. You can find everything, and you can contact us, leave us a message, ask us questions, comment on our social media outlets as to questions you may have about some of our answers or things you want answered outside of the questions we ask. But let's be interactive. Share with a friend, share with some other parents, share with folks with kids and that don't have kids, and let us know. Any last words, Jackie? Just peace.
Good day. We are Limitless Livin.
Remember, in marriage, you can live, love, and laugh.